I've got the OEM or the Mopar 4th Gen cab roof light install kit that I got off of Amazon, and this is definitely the way to go. This would be round number 2 for me installing cab lights. I've done one on a 2nd gen. I used some non-OEM lights, and I would say that that was a mistake. These are quite a bit better because they're factory, but you get the clear lenses. See, that's the big deal. Is everybody wants the clear lenses or the smoked or whatever. A lot of times with the aftermarket stuff, the plugs and stuff are just junk. So this is, and the gasket, that's the other big thing, is the gasket itself. That's a good quality gasket. And like I said, this is an OEM Mopar kit. So this is going on the 4th gen. Excuse me, the 3rd gen, the 04 3rd gen. And let me show you what's going down here. So you got to get her all torn apart. Your B-pillar has got to come out. This is a Torx right here. Take your seatbelt off. That's it's either a 40 or a 45. I can't remember. But pop your seatbelt off. Get your B-pillar off. There's two 10mm bolts on the that you can access from the rear door. Get that out of the way. Get the gasket out of the way. Now, these little stupid clips right here, they go right here and they hold this portion of the visor. Those things, if you can manage to get yours out without breaking them, more power to you. Now, truck that's been sitting outside in California sun its whole life, well, this is what you get. You get brittle plastic pieces, especially around the roof line where there's all that heat, concentrated heat. These are still usable, but I got to look at that. I'm going to have to go to the wrecking yard and go find some more. I chipped both the passenger and driver one, trying to get them apart in 2 different locations. I chipped the passenger side one on there, but these basically split apart. You'll see when you get yours, when you look at yours, this part right here drops down. So those are a pair of boogers, in my opinion, to get them out of there. But your visor is pretty easy. There's 2 Torx bolts. Get your lens out of the way for your lights, your interior dome lights, and there's a Torx on each side. You pull them out. That gets your roof info center loose. You can pop that down. And then this gives you enough room to get in here, supposedly. It's pretty tight quarters up there, to run your wiring through there and go up through the roof. On the 2nd gens, the cabs, that's easier, because on the 2nd gens, the cabs already have the holes in the roof. So that makes it a heck of a lot easier. It's like I didn't have to mark anything or, hold on, technical, oh, there we go, technical difficulties. I didn't have to mark anything, nothing. Man, I just went from the inside out and just punched my holes. Now, with the 3rd gen, as you can see, there are no markers or no factory holes. So that's what's nice about the Mopar kit, is it comes with a template. I didn't think I would even use it. I figured there was holes there, but I need to maybe double check that, but I didn't see any holes for them. So there's the template. I got it all squared up on the roof. Punch out your 1/4-inch holes for the tabs. That's one thing that's nice, is you get the tabs like how the factory is. Basically, you wind up with a factory installed kit. This is like factory when you're done, if the person behind the wrench knows what they're doing. And then you punch yourself a 7/8 hole with the hole saw or a step bit, whatever. Fortunately, I have another 3rd gen that does have factory cab roof lights sitting over there, and I was able to kind of go back and forth and make sure I got everything matching and all that jazz. So time to start punching some holes, I guess. Yeah, pretty scary when you do this the first time. This is the 2nd time doing it for me. Brand new paint job and everything. I'm gonna go punch a hole in it, but you know what, if you want cab roof lights, you got to do it. So, and the other thing is, it's not just about looks. That's the other thing, is people think that, oh, well, the cab roof lights, if guys want them for looks, it actually has to do, it's a commercial thing. Don't quote me on it. If my memory serves me correctly, it signifies that you are 96 inches or wider. That's what it means. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure I got my numbers right, but it's 96 inches or wider. That tells traffic that you're a wide vehicle. So I definitely, because I am 96 inches wide, I definitely need those cab roof lights on here. I think actually even to be DOT legal. So we're going to knock them out. Then the last thing is, so you lose, there are no holes in the roof, but what you do gain in a third gen is that little puppy right there. That's the factory plug that if the truck had roof lights, that's where they would plug into. So that's super easy then, at least to get power. So time to start punching some holes. Okay, there's the first one right there. There's a 7/8 inch hole cut, and there's the two tabs inserted into the 2 1/4 inch holes. So, and jobs like this where you've got repetitiveness, 5 different lights here, but they're all the same. The job's the same, just repeat, rinse, wash, repeat, whatever the saying is. I like to test fit on the first one and make sure that I'm doing it right. If I need to make any adjustments moving forward, it's a lot easier to have to fix 1 rather than 5. But yes, it's all following as the directions say it should. So I'm just going to keep motoring along here on the rest of them. And that is a very screwed up roof. Yeah, it's, but you know what? The thing is, I see some guys that want to silicone this hole and this hole. You got a big open hole there. There's no point. The gasket that goes around here, that needs to seal. If that doesn't seal, you got water in the cab. There's no doubt about that. So trying to seal those little holes, there's already a rubber. You can see it right there. Let's see if I can get my fingernail. There it is. There's a little silicone ring that goes around the bolt. That seals that, and that's why it's nice to have an OEM gasket, because these gaskets, the aftermarket crap, they just give you like a little piece of foam. And it's like, of course, that's just setting you up for failure. So there it is. There's the holes in the roof. My brand new paint job is holy. Like Swiss cheese. I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. But you got to do what you got to do. So it's not a big deal. Just like the way they did it at the factory. Right? So now to put all the little tabs in and start running the wiring and getting this deal done. Actually, I would say the hard part's all over, and now it's tidy up stuff. Okay, headliner's all put back in, everything's back in. This is the last thing here as far as the interior. There's my hot wire and ground. Tapped in. I just snipped that plug right off, and we're just about ready to wrap this up. I gotta go up on top and install the lights and finish this project up. This is actually didn't take very long at all, and it was a lot quicker and easier than I thought it would be. And you'll notice my wonderful dash completely grenading. That is just about the last thing that's on the list for this truck, is to get that LMC dash replacement ordered and on its way. And the Lord said, let there be light. There we go. All right, install the lenses and we're done. Yeah, that looks good. Looks real good. Matches the bullet lights, the Maxima bullet lights down the side. Pretty darn close. The bullet lights are maybe a little bit yellower, or a little bit more amber, I should say. But man, does that look good? Whew. I mean, excuse me. That will be, we are set for DOT regulations for 96 inches. That's what we were going for here. The looks are secondary. Now, I ran these 19.5s with the 8 to 10 lug adapters on my second gen, and it worked out perfect. Everything bolted right on to the single rear wheel, rear end, the Dana 70 in my 01. And I did not have any issues at all regarding where the springs were, with the back of the tire the inside of the tire wanting to touch the springs. And so I did not know that the third gen has a wider frame rail and wider spring to spring stance than the second gen. So I was pretty surprised when I went to go bolt on these 19.5s. The inside of the tire did just barely touch the spring. So the question would be or I guess the question at that time was, do I go ahead and go get a dually rear end and swap it in? Or do I run a spacer to be able to retain my single rear wheel rear end? Now, of course, the first thing would be I'll just go get a dually rear end. Well, that creates two problems. The first problem is a smaller problem than the second one, but that is that this truck has 57,000 miles on it and has never towed a jet ski in its life. And in fact, in my trenching video, when I hauled my trencher, that's probably really, I bet, when the actual ring and pinion got broke in on this rear axle. So you're talking about a really fresh axle. I didn't want to put some wrecking yard, 175,000 mile dually rear end underneath my 57,000 mile truck. Now, tell me I'm being picky or whatever, but I couldn't do it. So the second thing, though, also that was almost more critical is I believe that the dual rear wheel axle is quite a bit wider than the single rear axle. I didn't want my outside tire sticking out past the rub rail the best that I could. So with that in mind, of trying to keep things as narrow as possible, the narrowest I could go on an adapter was 1.5 inches. And I actually did have to trim the studs just a little bit. I cut off what they call the bullet. The guy from MotorTech, they called it the bullet. I call it just the tip of the stud where you can hammer on it. That was enough where I could clear. So I didn't take any threads off, but that was enough then to be able to clear an 1.5 inch spacer. So I only gained then 3 inches of total track width, and it puts the tread almost lined up exactly. The tread here almost exactly with the rub rail, and then the casing of the tire does stick out a little bit, but that's the best I could do. So now to adapters, what to go with. Now for test fitting, I ran these cheap ECCPP, I think is the brand or whatever. I'm sure it's the same Chinese spacer sold by multiple companies. So I borrowed these spacers off of my K5 Blazer just for, like I said, just for test fitment and to make sure all this was going to work. I did not tow a single thing with this truck while they were on, and so I was fairly confident that as long as I didn't put any real weight, pin weight on it, that I shouldn't have any trouble, and there was no trouble. So now I've got these big boys. They showed up in the mail. Bora Bulletproof off-road adapters, made in America. They're machined in Nevada, is my understanding, by Motor Tech Speed Shop and or Motorsport Tech, excuse me. And so, yes, these are aluminum. Now, why do I have aluminum spacers? Because I'm trusting these guys. I called them up and I said, hey, I need a set of steel spacers, because Stahl and Bora is the same company. It's Motorsport Tech. I said, hey, I need a set of steel spacers. And the guy on the phone, which is actually, I think, the dad that owns the company, the older gentleman is the dad and the younger guy is the son. He said, why do you need steel? He says, I don't think you need steel. I gave him the application, everything, 2,500, Dodge diesel, blah, blah, blah. He says, you don't need steel, aluminum's fine. I said, well, let me finish with this application, right? It's a flatbed commercial dually with 19 5s with 8 to 10 lug semi-adapters pulling heavy ASS trailers with, 2 to 5,000 pound pin weights. And he said, let me have you talk to my son. He might be able to give you a little bit better, some better information. He says, I'm going to have him call you. So I said, okay, sounds like a plan. So sure enough, he called me about an hour later and he said, let's talk about your rig here. And I went over everything with him. He says, well, it sounds like you know what you're doing as far as, what you need, what your plans are and everything. And he says, look, our aluminum, our Bora adapters are rated for, you put a pair of them on an axle, we rate them for 30,000 pounds. So, and I said, look, I'm trusting whatever it is that you tell me I need. I said, I'm telling you exactly what I weigh, what the truck's going to be doing, and the last thing I want to do is spit a duel with one of my kids or all my kids or whatever in the passenger seat of my truck, hauling, a 30-foot gooseneck with a backhoe on it. And he said, if it was my truck, if for exactly what you said, I'd load all my kids and wife and everything up, and I'd have the aluminum adapters. Our Bora adapters are made out of T6061 steel, like an Alcoa rim or a Weld racing rim. And he says, I don't think you're ever going to have to worry about it. And so I said, okay, then let's do it. If that's what you say, then let's do it. So, one difference that I do see is obviously the ring here in the center, the hub piloted ring. Now, this is supposed to do two things. This is supposed to help with to make sure that you're hub piloted instead of stud piloted, try to get the truest center on your rim to axle. Second thing is this is also supposed to help hold load instead of having all your weight on the studs. I mean, I guess it's pretty thin stuff. I have a hard time seeing. And even with steel, you don't have a lot of material there. But, so we're going to go for it. We're going to put these on and trust in Motorsport Tech. Knows what they're doing, knows what it is that they're building. And we're going to put these suckers through the ringer. I had to clean the hub up really, really well. Now, I would definitely say that about these spacers. Boy, they're machined. The clearances on them are super, super tight. And so I kind of like that. I can see that already maybe as a quality difference. Really to help keep the load on the hub as most, as best as possible anyway. So what I'm going to do, outside of torquing the studs, the lug nuts like normal, I'm actually going to apply a little bit of blue Loctite, I think, on each stud. That way it's just not red, because I don't want to have to heat stuff up potentially to try to get things apart when the rotor needs to come off, but a little bit of blue to kind of give a little bit of extra protection there, just to make sure it doesn't want to come loose. Well, this afternoon, I finally decided to tackle some wiring. Some wiring, for whatever reason, I've been putting off. I don't know, I haven't wanted to do it. But today, I'm going to do it. And what that is my emergency light bar on the 04 is running the wiring. It drops down through the headache rack, down along the frame. And I've got it running. Oh. There we go. I got it running along the frame rail, zip tied up here. This is still in the process here. I got to button everything up. But, and then there's a factory plug there in the floor of the cab. And I punched through that, ran my wiring through there, and notched the cap, the factory cap, as you can see. And then I siliconed it all back up with some RTV. The second cord goes over to my one of the toolboxes where I've got some 12-volt solenoids in there, and those will control my airbags. They controlled my airbags on the 01 that this bed came off of, and I intend to get it set up the same way. I've got a switch bank inside the cab where I can air up and air down. Pretty simple, really. So, and there's the switch bank, 3 valves, and one lets air out, one lets air in, and the other one shuts off. It's been a couple years since I put this together, 3 or 4 years actually. The other one then shuts the air off from the airbag side and allows me to see how much air is in the compressor. That's what, because there's my compressor right there. Because I don't have a 12-volt compressor, this is plumbed into the main truck's compressor, gas-powered compressor. That's where its air source is. So yes, if the compressor is out of air, then that means I can't add any air to the bags. But a lot of times, not a big deal. A lot of times I have the tanks charged on the truck. That's why I did it this way. So that third valve, then, like I said, shuts the air off on the side of the bags and lets me see air compressor in the tank. So back over to this. I've come up through the carpet. I've got both of my cords there. And there's the switch box right there for the light. I need to get this installed where I haven't figured out yet. There's the plug for it, or there's the harness for it right there with all the plugs. And that's as far as she makes it. I'm pretty sure, I don't think we got really, maybe, no, that's pretty much about it. Now, in my second gen, because the cab is shorter, that actually made it all the way over there, and I was able to mount the box kind of right next to the brake controller. I kind of had everything together on that lower panel. So I got to figure out where to put this box. What I want to do, extending all those wires would be a pain in the butt. Yeah, that can be done, but there's only about 1 million wires. There's probably 20 to 25 wires here in this harness. Obviously, all different colors with different stripers. I don't want to have to do that. So, I don't know. I'm going to get creative here. That's why you can see I've got this open. No, I don't want to have to open that cubby every time I want to turn my light on, but I don't know. Trying to figure this out. I got my control box all mounted here. I mounted on the side of the jump seat, and so that's just going to work fine right there. And there we go. Yeah, getting her dialed in now, man. Well, this truck sure has come a long ways in a short amount of time. But, you know, we're looking pretty good now. I got my, like I said, my control box for emergency light bar up on top. It's all mounted in. I got a decent head unit with Bluetooth for hands-free talk. I got my gauges in. I went with Glow Shift. Now, this would be, what, truck number 4 I've installed Glow Shift into. I've had no issues with them. They've been reliable for me. All I can say is I've been happy with Glow Shift for the most part. I do like being able to change the colors. And like I said, they've worked fine for me, so don't fix what's not broken. So there we go. We're looking pretty good. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like. I'll see you on the next one.